Hello, everybody. Nick Reigns for Kids here once again, and you just watched my performance in the recent Goat Guys Grand Prix tournament for a Goat format. I ended up winning the whole thing using the same exact deck that I had posted before, the Tree Goat Beastdown, which everybody seemed to like. I was going to make some changes before the tournament based off of my own thoughts and also people's suggestions, but I figured that it would be best to enter the tournament so that I could showcase exactly how this deck runs the way that I showed everybody beforehand. And there were a lot of close calls, and the final match was pretty crazy, as you saw. Really bad matchup for me, but my opponents played well. Closest I got, it was pretty much the closest you could possibly be to losing the entire tournament, but winning. I made a couple of misplays. There's about 5 really big ones that I keep kicking myself about over and over and over again. The MST, when I had 4 cards in hand, I should have activated it. In that last duel, I should have just summoned Berserk Gorilla and attacked. I don't know why I decided not to. I was even thinking he summoned the monster in attack mode, which means he doesn't have anything to protect his monsters, so I should just attack. But I was so worried about losing the tournament that my brain was like, you know what? Just be safe. And in fact, the safe route was the worst route. But anyway, you guys saw the performance yourself. You saw that this deck can win, and in fact, it even won against Moxies, someone who's won a lot of tournaments recently. And this deck has, as even Moxies mentioned to me in the Discord after our match, is that this deck is really good against warriors, because not only does it have recruiters and they don't like, their monsters not really gaining advantage by attacking over you, but also it has a lot of ways to attack over their monsters. One of the big ones, besides Berserk Gorilla, being that we have the one and only Gaia Power in the deck, which means that pretty much all of our monsters, except for this one right here, and this one right here, and this one, are going to be able to attack over even Blade Knight, which means pretty much that there's only 2 monsters in the warrior deck that you have to worry about, which is BLS and Chaos Sorcerer. And against flip decks, you have so many ways to punish them for having monsters face down, including Enraged Battle Ox and Gyakugire Panda and the No Mana Crossout. As well, I saw in the comments someone was saying, don't use Scapegoat, it doesn't work in this deck, it doesn't make sense. But this literally won me 2 of the games by attacking directly with it, and it was really good against stopping my opponents from OTKing. Although in that last 2 matches, it was kind of hit or miss because they had King Tiger Wangu, which I wanted to side this out, but they also were an OTK deck, and I didn't want to get OTK'd. And Scapegoat is pretty much the only way in this deck that you can prevent yourself from doing that. And I didn't really have a good side deck against a deck that uses Dimension Fusion. I had a Curse Seal Forbidden Spell, that was pretty much it, and it wasn't even really good. The only thing I was hoping that they were like a return deck, and then I could use Royal Decree instead, which is really easy to do in this deck since you only run 4 traps. But anyway, I was afraid that I was going to match Beast Beats in the finals. I wanted to have a better matchup because I saw in one of the duels that they were running a bunch of beasts and beast warriors like I was. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a bad matchup for me. And it ended up being that. But in the end, I just barely squeaked out a victory, and this is where we're at now. Um, Something that I'll say for the deck, again, it's really good against Chaos Warriors and against flips. This card, Cypher Soldier, or Kinetic Soldier as it should be called, isn't actually really that powerful against warrior decks because a lot of them now are playing spellcasters too, but I didn't really have much else to side in against them. Though again, you're good against them already. Thankfully, I didn't have to use Neko Mane King or Neko Main King, however it's technically pronounced. If you're curious against like warrior and aggro decks, a lot of what I do, I always side it out. Ghost Knighted Jackal, by the way. Ghost Knighted Jackal is really cool, and if you get to discard and revive it, it's really awesome. But this is one of the cards that I 100% would cut just because it's a dead card a lot of the time, and a lot of people play Spy, and you really need to have Gaia Power to really make it worth it. And you shouldn't have to rely on one specific card in your deck, or two specific cards, because you want to revive it as well. So I would cut it, probably put in a third Berserk Gorilla, just because Gorilla's really strong, and with Gaia Power you can even run over Chaos Sorcerer, but even without that, it's still good to crash with Blade Knights, take over opposing Kaikus, things like that. But against aggro decks, I would side this out. One of the pandas, all of my traps except for Mirror Force specifically, because because Mirror Force is still usable in later game states. Like if you have just Torrential instead of Mirror Force, your opponent already has monsters, it's not gonna make a difference. So like it's better to top draw Mirror Force than to top draw Torrential is basically what I'm saying. And I'd bring in Decrees, Enemy Controller, Smashing Ground, and the Kaikus just to have more threats against them. Pretty much saw, unfortunately, like aggro decks were the only thing that I fought against in the tournament. I'm just really happy that I could showcase this deck and show that it actually is a decent deck. It's not a bad deck. I won't go as far as to pretend that just because it won a tournament, not even like a truly official one, that it's a top tier deck. But I think that this does prove that the deck can win, and it shows you a bit of the theory behind it and why it can win against other decks. I haven't gotten to face this deck against too many Chaos Turbos. I'm not 100% sure how that matchup would go. Basically, you just have to be really aggressive with this and try to take out their monsters as quickly as possible, deal as much damage as possible as quick as possible, because you're dealing piercing damage and you don't want them to get down the Chaos monsters. And hopefully, if they do get their Chaos monsters, you can steal it with Snatch Steal or Enemy Controller, or destroy it with Exiled Force or Smashing Ground. With all that said, that's about it. If you guys have any questions about the tournament or about this deck, or again, any ideas, I think again one of the main things that I would do is put in another Berserk Gorilla instead of the Ghost Knighted Jackal. Might even put in a Gigantes instead of one of the pandas, or might even take out one of the giant rats. Not 100% sure yet what I would do, but I know 100% sure Ghost Knighted Jackal goes out and another Berserk Gorilla goes in. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you have a great one.